Today I am going to discuss the first poem in your Beehive textbook, The Road Not Taken. It is written by the American poet Robert Frost. Frost was a very famous American poet, was basically a nature poet whose work was first published in England and later on, when it was published in America, Frost achieved great literary success. This poem reflects the poet's own personal experience. He also was faced with making life-altering choices. Just like the person in the poem who comes across two roads which diverge in the wood, Frost also had to make a difficult decision. He realizes that when we make one choice, we automatically give up the other. In this poem, the traveler selects the road less traveled, and that makes a great difference to his life. I'd like to read out the poem itself. The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveller. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them equally about the same, and both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. I'd like to read out the poem itself. The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveller. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them equally about the same, and both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. I could not travel both and be one traveller. And therefore he stands there wondering which road to take. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Undergrowth is bushes, shrubs, creepers. So he tried to see down one road as far as his eye could see. And this suggests that the poet hesitated because he was undecided which road to take. Very often in life, we are faced with choices where we do not know which to select. It might be something as simple as, shall I buy this red t-shirt or shall I buy the green one? Those are simple choices. But there are also life-altering choices where we know that if we take a certain career, then we have to give up on something else. Suppose we have a passion for sports and we want to make a career out of it, then you cannot focus on academics. And if you are focusing on academics, then perhaps we have to give up our passion for sports. So we can perhaps at most times travel only on one road. It is assumed that when you say yes to something, you have to say no to something else. And that's why the poet hesitates there before he actually moves forward. Then he looks at the other one. Then took the other just as fair and having perhaps the better claim. Better claim means it appeared more beautiful because it was grassy and wanted well. So the second road was a road less traveled, a road on which most people had not walked upon. But even then he is uncertain because he says, though as for that the passing there had warned them really about the same. And then he backtracks on that thought and says that if we look at both the roads, they appear to be equally beautiful. So he stands there at that path, indecisive, wondering which one to travel on. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Trodden means to walk upon. That means no human beings had recently passed by that road. And therefore he finally makes the decision to take the second road, the road less travelled. And he thinks in his mind that he would go back to the first one some other time at a later date. But he also knows that this might not be possible. Very often we keep postponing things. We think that I will do this later, I'll do this later, and the opportunity never comes. When we walk on a particular road, we cannot always take a U-turn and come back. Even when you are traveling on the highway, sometimes we have to keep on traveling before you come to a junction where you can take a U-turn and come back. In life, very often there are no U-turns. You have to keep walking on. You have to keep walking ahead. So there is this feeling at the back of his mind that probably he'll never come back to the same road. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. And he says, I shall be telling this with a sigh. There is a suggestion of a bit of regret. When we give up something, even though we are happy with the choice we have made, there is a feeling at the back of our minds, what if I had taken the other one? What if I had selected the other one? So, we are basically people, we want to have everything. But that is not possible because when we say yes to something, it means we have to say no to something else. So he knows that he might regret his decision later on, but at that point he is not sure. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. So by opting for a road on which people usually don't travel, meaning to say, by opting for a kind of life or a career that most people don't go for, Frost selected the less traveled path, but it has made his life more meaningful, more fulfilling, and therefore it has made a great difference to his life.